I made a video explaining why I thought Pokemon Mystery Dungeons Explorer's Sky was an amazing game, and so I thought why not piggyback off that and make one on talking about what I think would make for a great new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. I wouldn't mind a remake or remaster of Explorers of Sky, kind of how Red and Blue got, but also I wouldn't mind a brand new one either. Also, I wasn't a big fan of the art style that they went for in the remake of Red and Blue. And also, I don't like some of the small decisions, gameplay-wise, that they decided to change for their remake either. So the latest mystery dungeon we got was Rescue Team DX in 2020. The last non-remakened one was Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon in 2015. It's been nearly a decade since we had a new one, and Super Mystery Dungeon seems to be a little more miss than hit. So why not explain what things can make for a solid new mystery dungeon, assuming we might get one in the next year or two. Or this is just another dead franchise, F-Zero.
Come on!
Sorry, F-Zero fans. The first thing we could talk about for a new mystery dungeon game would be the story element of the game. That's what makes these games so fun and refreshing. A world where the Pokemon are treated like humans, and trainers aren't a thing, or Pokeballs. The first two were so fun, how you slowly try to puzzle how you turn into Pokemon, and why are all of these bad things happening. And you try to find out why these bad things are happening in the world, and just somehow how they're connected to you. And you end up meeting your partner for the adventure, in which both of them gain a lot of chemistry, and you see how they change over time. Alongside your partner, you have everyone of the guild, and then the bad guys, who go out of their way to be assholes to you. And then the other little NPC you meet throughout the journey. Don't trust Krogunk. In a way, I guess, the story resembles Legends Arceus, which was an extremely solid game. You come into this world confused on how you got there, and everyone around you is very confused too. And trust me, in Arceus, they let you know every 2 seconds. The person who fell from the sky. The person who fell from the sky. Goodness, give it a break. And then things go south in the world, and you're slowly trying to figure out your own situation while doing some good around the community. Things take a turn for the worst, and then you're banished, left to solve yours and the world's problems at the same time. You then save the world, and you're welcome back, and none of finding how you got in the situation you're in. Both games have similar stories. I'd be completely cool with getting a new game where we aren't a human turned Pokemon. I'd still be fine with saving the world from a problem-ending situation, but I'd also be fine with it not being tied to us somehow and us getting banished from our community. I still love the whole guild thing, so I'd be all here for that, and who doesn't love Wigglytuff? All my homies love Wigglytuff. But I think we can let rest to us being humans with amnesia and having to uncover our past while helping with the future's problems. You do the same story so many times, and then you get the mainline Pokemon game stories, which get exhausting after a while. So something different is completely welcoming. I wouldn't mind the guild having other two-man teams being our competition too. Having 4 other viable teams that are trying to do as much good as us, it sounds like a good concept to me. In the mainline games, you always have a rival, so it'd be cool to have, maybe some of these in this one too. No one in the guild seems to be doing as many missions as us. And in the post-game, we have a team like Alakazams, those types, but they really aren't our rivals. Wouldn't even be a bad thing to have a Team Rocket-like organization going around doing some ruckus. The games usually have a meddling team of 3 that normally try to troll us a little, but it'd be cool to have a group constantly making missions harder. In Explorers of Sky, we get that group right at the end of the game when we go into another dimension, but it was just a temporary group. Also, F it, bring back Grovyle. Pretty sure he's the most popular character in the series. Cresselia might be the most hated due to the final battle with her against Darkrai. If you know, you know. So I feel that does it for the story part of the game. Next, I want to talk about the overworld. The main part of the game is obviously traversing inside the dungeons. That's where you can recruit Pokemon, get loot, and complete missions, and just progress throughout the story. But I'd be cool to do more in the overworld. I liked how Mega Man Battle Network used to do it. In that game, the main portion of the game is inside of the devices where Mega Man fights in the net. But in order to get in the net, he would have to jack into any devices he can find. And when he jacks off, he's back where land started. Pause. That doesn't sound right. And where land jacks in is the location where he'll start inside of the net. And some devices were just little areas where you got loot or some random mission. It'd be cool if Mystery Dungeon had more to do in the overworld. And the only part that has any navigation in the overworld is normally Treasure Town. It'd be cool to have other towns and cities where you can do stuff. Like yes, in the mainline games the battling comes from gyms and the wild area, sure. But there's plenty that could be done in the towns. Wish they could add more in that aspect so it doesn't feel like it's 100% of the game done in the dungeons. Nice to add a little more variety and depth. But hey, the Spin Cafe was a nice little touch. Even Legend Arceus had a little to do in the overworld for accepting missions and whatnot. It'd be cool to have missions where you can strictly do stuff in the overworld and not have to go into dungeons. Just a nice solid ratio for what you can work with. Explorers of Sky felt like 95-5. Even Rabbids Mario, a series that's getting bigger and bigger, has so much to do in the overworld. That's not all it comes down to is the strategy part of actual battles. There are overworld puzzles and plenty to engage with outside of the battles themselves. More overworld stuff for the game would just do wonders. Next thing I want to talk about is recruiting. As far as the recruiting overworld goes, bring back the friends area. This isn't a hill I die on, but hey, it's one more thing that can help make the game even better. The list in Explorer Sky is fine, sure, but why not add as much care to the game as you can? In Red and Blue, you can buy these friend areas, where you can see the Pokemon themselves just roaming around. Some friend areas catered strictly to bug types, some catered to fire types, and some strictly for legendaries. It'd be nice to bring that back. Let me see my Volcarona interact with a Scyther. And I'm all here for that. And then once you pick your Pokemon to bring on a mission, it'd be cool to see them in the Spinda Cafe or waiting outside near the gate or something. I also love the Chimecho Bell, so you don't have to go inside the guild to pick your Pokemon. It'd be cool to have the friend area, but be able to stay in Treasure Town and just pick the ones you want. And it'd be fine too if you were able to earn these friend areas through multiple methods. Like some you can buy, some you can get through missions, and other you can get through maybe some type of overworld things, and so on. And recruiting in general is one of the most satisfying things in Mystery Dungeon. In the mainline game, when you encounter a Pokemon, you need to catch them. With a few exceptions here and there. You have 6 Pokemon in your inventory, so you normally just beat the Pokemon until it's almost about to faint, and then you start the process of throwing as many balls as you need until you can catch it. In these games, just encountering a Pokemon isn't enough. Normally, you, the main player, have to be the one to beat the Pokemon. You can't have your sidekick or the 1 to 2 other Pokemon on your side beat that Pokemon. And depending on the game, some of them only let you recruit 1 tile away, and others let you recruit 2 tiles away. A first evolution Pokemon will have a higher percentage than a second evolution Pokemon, and the game gives items to boost your percentage to recruit Pokemon too. I'd love for all Pokemon to have a tiny health bar so I know when you need to be the one to deliver the final blow. And in general, I'd like after defeating Pokemon to know what percentage it is for recruiting them. Normally many of us have to go to Bulbapedia, Old Reliable, to find all this info out. To know when a Pokemon spawns, on what maps, what floors in the dungeon do the Pokemon spawn, and the percentage for the recruitment rate. It would just be nice and convenient if Chimecho can tell you this, or some other NPC Pokemon. Maybe after you defeat the same Pokemon 10 times, then it'll tell you all this info on a certain one. Or maybe there's an alternative, where if you pay $500 you get this info revealed to you without having to defeat it 10 times. And definitely keep the 2-tile rule. 1 tile seems cheap and limits your move arsenal, but 2's fine. I'd agree to not obviously let it be like 5 tiles or something, because then I'm just going in the monster house and spamming Silverwind or Earthquake and recruiting 10 Pokemon at a time. F Venomath. Monster House Goblin, man. The next thing I want to talk about is the general degree of difficulty. So many games have a slider for the easier bunch and the harder gamers. Yeah, I'm a gamer that likes to play hard. Wait. What? Make a slider so we can get a challenge. Explorer of Sky was a solid degree of difficulty though, don't get me wrong. And that's what I like about dungeon games better than the mainline ones, because they're actually challenging. They aren't easy where you just coast through it. I feel I need to conserve my moves, and actually strategically pick my moves, and what items to use and so on. Every move matters later in the game. Inventory matters, and you definitely don't want to faint with all the money and loot you got. Losing a friend bow is F's in the chat, baby. You can easily clear 3 straight floors, and then you get hit by a floor that wipes your inventory out. The game keeps you on your toes. And the great thing about Explorers of Sky was how hard it was before the post-game content. Toward the end of the game, it actually got more difficult. Monster houses are a necessity to keep those in, so please, leave those. The only thing I would change is Pokemon using moves where you can't even tell where they're at. You get some Pokemon spamming agility 30 tiles away, and then you have to fight them with 20 stat buffs. Agility might not be the best move for yourself since it's only got like 5 PP, but for multiple roaming Pokemon, it's great because they could spam the move before going to the grave. When it comes to difficulty, I hate what Red and Blue, the remakes, made the changes for it. The game forces you to have to use a move. It will only let you use a standard tackle if you run out of all of your moves. This game gives way too many elixirs, so you never run out of move usage. It took a little of the strategy out and conserved moves. I liked how you would go into a 50 floor dungeon and by floor 30, you were praying for an elixir. And this is while you're still using plenty of standard attacks too, so you're trying to conserve moves, right? I just thought it was a whack change that the remake made. Allow for standard tackle instead of spamming moves. That is definitely a hill I can die on. Next, let's get into the actual Pokemon for the game. I respect Pokemon Black and White because it only gives you national dex towards the end of the game, so it really makes you have to break away from the past generations of Pokemon. I think Pokemon games rely too much on the past generations when making a current generation. They rely too heavily on nostalgia, and it makes it hard to appreciate the current Pokemon when you're still able to use the blasts from the past, like Charizard, or Pikachu, or Piplup, or Typhlosion, and so on. Black and White force you to interact with the new regional Pokemon, which was 156 of them. And then you obtain the national dex, and you can acquire the 493 Pokemon. I'd like for that to be the case with the new Mystery Dungeon game too. Make a majority of the Pokemon pre-post-game content, strictly the Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet Pokemon. Even the main Pokemon and your sidekick, make them from the new gen too. But allow the other gens towards the end of the game. Let's be honest, if I have the choice, I'll just stick to old reliable Riolu and Vulpix. So it's nice if they don't give me those options and force me to pick new gen Pokemon. Like I said, if you're gonna give me those options, I'll just go back to them. I also love the quiz. Keep the quiz. And force them to have to pick the main character through that way. But then, let them choose the sidekick. And let's be honest, if you really want a Pokemon, Riolu, you'll just do it over and over until you get them. And you'll probably just Google how to get them too. But the quiz was fun for doing it the first time. A Mystery Dungeon staple for it. But yeah, I just want newer Pokemon games to excel with just using the newer Pokemon. They need to stop allowing past Pokemon and stuff from past games. Stop relying on Charizard or Pikachu to sell current games. Use Fuecoco or Quaxley. Use any of them. But like I said, by all means, use past Pokemon for post-game content. What I'd like to see is Pokemon from the past games come back for the story though. Just not playable. Unless post-game story. For example, bring back Team Alakazam, or bring back Lucario, the greatest explorer known, or everyone from the guild and explores the sky, or Rayquaza, or Dialga. Hell, even Skuntank for that team, or Team Gengar. That's fine for past Pokemon, but just don't want them to be playable until the end. And last thing I'd like to talk about is just random stuff and little things that would help elevate the game. The way I'm making it might as well be a $100 game with all the ideas I'm giving, right? Red and Blue had the main characters live in a house near the guild. Explorer Sky had you live in the guild until the end where you live inside the Sharpedo. It'd be cool in the newest one if you live inside a house like Red and Blue, but can slowly customize it. A lot of what adds Pokemon games is mini customization aspects of it. Customizing your trainer, your Pokemon, houses, etc. People love customizing. So if you had a house shaped like Pokemon, picking which one it could be, might be a nice little option. Maybe you can only customize it to a Pokemon you recruited, and then being able to customize inside the house too. Almost like a watered-down Animal Crossing game. Scratch that. Let's just make a Pokemon version of Animal Crossing. Pokemon Crossing. And then it'd be cool to customize and add upon Treasure Town or something along those lines. It'd almost be, just like Pokemon Animal Crossing. It'd also be cool to have funny mini-games like the one where you try to guess whose footprint is whose. If we get 5 types of those mini-games, it'd be a fun little addition. I'd even be fine with doing away with the Marowak Dojo and just adding more mini-games. We already fight all the time in dungeons, so there's no need for a training dungeon. It just becomes repetitive at that point. Probably a bunch of other mini games, sure, would be cool to add. But hey, it is what it is. That's what I'd like for a new Mystery Dungeon game that's hopefully coming out this or next year. Let me know what you'd like to see in a new one.